Hello, everyone. It's a new week, and we are down to the fifth niyama within the second limb of yoga. Let's begin in a posture lying down, face down. So you may want to grab a blanket and fold it so that you have something to rest your forehead on so that you don't squish your nose and so you can breathe. If this position is not comfortable for you to start in, you could start in child's pose instead. So some sort of bowing position. And if you have a blanket underneath your forehead, just make sure that you have it at the thickness that allows you a more natural curve in your neck. It doesn't feel like you're dropping your chin to your chest or straining your neck in any way. And then if it feels comfortable, my suggestion is to extend the arms overhead and bring palms together in a prayer position. And just listen to your body. Need to alter it the way that you need. And once you've situated, if you're comfortable to do so, you like to close your eyes. And the highlight of Isvara Pranidhana. And here is what yoga teacher Shiva Ray has to say about it in her article in Yoga Journal. Isvara Pranidhana, your yoga can do for you, but it's about approaching your practice spirit of offering. Isvara Pranidhana, surrendering, which is Pranidhana, to a higher source, which is Isvara. Isvara Pranidhana is a big picture yoga practice. It initiates a sacred shift of perspective. Give and receive the grace of life. Many of us have only experienced surrendering to a higher force. We're confronted by insurmountable problems or in some other way hit the edge of our individual will and abilities. But in the Yoga Sutras, written by Patanjali, he transforms surrender from this sort of last into an essential ongoing practice. Some of you in 2019 that are practicing with us today joined us on a yoga retreat in Bali, Indonesia. And one of the first things that struck me walking around the streets in Bali was the sense of devotion. Getting up really early in the morning, shopkeepers, homeowners would create these floral offerings with incense and sometimes a little bit of food as food for the gods. It was an offering of gratitude, of blessings for the day, a thankfulness for life, that they would sit on the sidewalk in front of their doors. And it was a daily practice. The sense of, I'm offering the fruits of my labor today to a greater good. So that is Isvara Pranidhana. It's a potent method for dissolving the endless agitations of the mind, and thus a means to the ultimate unified state of yoga, samadhi. That's the eighth limb of yoga. Indian yoga master Iyengar, his light on the yoga surface. Through surrender, the aspirant's ego is effaced, and grace pours down on him like a torrential rain. So Isvara Pranidhana provides a pathway through the obstacles of our ego toward our divine nature. Grace, peace, unconditional clarity, and freedom. So as we lie in this sort of humbling posture, this bowing down towards the earth, perhaps your hands are in prayer as well, maybe you're in child's pose. It's this feeling tone or bhavanam of devotion, of surrendering. And when we say divine, it doesn't indicate any particular religion. It's your concept of divine. So what do you feel connected to when you say thank you for this life? Thank you for this body. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for having this time to practice yoga in community. Let's begin to deepen the breath. Allowing the inhalation to bless every cell within your physical body with that feeling tone of gratitude. And as you breathe out, an offering of the life force that you share onto the world in this constant exchange through the breath. Taking it in, filling yourself up, and surrendering it. Letting it go. And as you continue to breathe deeply now, placing your hands alongside your lowest ribs if you are in a lying down position, or by your outer knees if you are in child's pose. Let's begin to slide back if you're lying down into child's pose, and then eventually roll your spine upright so that you can find a comfortable seat. Any way that allows you to ground towards the earth or the surface below. Maybe it's a block or a pillow, as well as up and invite a spaciousness throughout your spine. Empty any tension from your shoulders, perhaps from your neck, kind of movements. Oh. Still listening to that sweet depth of inhale and the clarity of your exhale. I invite you to bring your thumbs together to touch, your pinky fingers together to touch, sort of a lotus flower. And this is a mudra or a gesture or seal that is associated with the heart energy center. As you bring your thumbs to meet your sternum at the location of Anahata chakra. Perhaps offering your 3 chants of Om to someone or something that you feel gratitude for. Let's take a deep breathing in deeply, making any sound through your mouth as you exhale completely. So I'd like to move into a breath practice called Isvara Pranidhana. Some of you are familiar with that. Belly's breath. It's where you deeply inhale, filling up your belly and lungs using your diaphragm, and then you exhale just as deeply through the nose. So everything is through the nose, the mouth is closed, and it's rhythmic, equal in breath, equal out breath. And then with the arms, using a kriya or action, we bend the elbows apart, hands are like fists. And then as you inhale, you raise your arms straight, the shoulders stay relaxed, fingers spread. And as you exhale, you rebend your elbows and refist your hands like this. It's a wonderful way to enliven energy in your lungs, cleanse your lungs, and clear the mind of cloudiness. So I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute of this practice. Isvara Pranidhana. Ready? Begin. down to last 10 seconds. And relax, breathing naturally. Maybe close your eyes and slowly inhale up your belly, your lungs. Closing your lips, softly narrow the back of your throat. Exhale a gentle whisper through your nose. Lengthening your breath and out with the mouth closed. Creating a soft whisper. Easing Ujjayi Pranayama, which means victorious breath. Let's use that subtle sound as you walk down onto hands and knees, all fours, humming into a few rounds of cat-cow Vidalasana. With your wrists set just underneath your shoulders, spread your fingers wide, and set your knees a couple inches behind your hips. Then on your next inhalation, slowly glide your chest through your upper arms, tilting it up as you gaze up. Soften your shoulders down. Then as you exhale, contracting your belly, drop your skull. Tuck your tailbone under to round your back. Taking a few more at your own pace. Inhaling, arching, lifting tailbone, heart, and gaze. Exhaling, belly contracts, back rounds. Several more cycles of Vidalasana. Isvara Pranidhana, surrendering to divine will or offering up your efforts to a greater good. When you feel ready, use an exhalation to tuck your toes, lift your hips high, arriving at your downward facing dog with a few breaths of shifting your body around. You may like to pedal your feet in place, helping to loosen the backs of your legs. With that, you might add swiveling your hips left and right, stretching the sides of your hips, your outer hips, your side waist. Maybe even softly moving your skull and relaxing your neck, relaxing your mouth, perhaps by fluttering your lips a few times. Feel a rootedness through your palms as you spread your weight throughout your fingertips, especially firming downward to the base of your thumbs and index fingers. Then by bending your knees deeply, lifting your sitting bones as high as you can, draw your weight towards the rear edge of your mat, away from your hands. As your belly firms in, support your lower back to lengthen. Firming the fronts of your thigh bones back. Let your weight become heavier down the backs of your legs through your heels, even if they don't touch the floor. Remember, you can bend your knees any amount. You want to find optimal length in the front and back of your spine, as though you have a flat back. Let's take about 5 more breaths here. By rotating your triceps towards the ground, broaden across the tops of your shoulders, completely dropping your head. Steady your gaze on the floor. Last couple of breaths. Adho Mukha Svanasana. On your next exhale, walk your feet forward to the top of your mat in a standing forward fold, separating your feet a little wider than hips distance apart, parallel. Bend your knees generously. Reach your hands behind your lower back to clasp or grab a strap to hold between them. And as you tilt a little more weight towards the balls of your feet, take an in-breath to elongate your chest forward, rising halfway. Bending your elbows closer together, drop your skull as you fold in a little more. Stretching your arms away from your lower back for a few breaths here as we open the fronts of your shoulders and release your neck by lifting your shoulder bones up, dropping your skull down, maybe even softly moving your skull. You could also stretch into the backs of your legs some more by straightening one leg, leaning towards it, and then switching a few times. Maybe even explore how it feels to switch the interlacing of the thumb and index finger on top. And coming back through center with both knees bent, release your arms down, drop your chin towards your chest, belly firming in, soles of your feet rooting down with toe spread. On a slow inhale, roll your spine upright, stacking one vertebra at a time, shrugging your shoulders as you slowly lift your skull upright, so that as you exhale, you can release your shoulders back and down, turning your palms to face forward in mountain pose. Mountain pose, heel toe your feet a little closer so that your heels are right under your sitting bones, still parallel feet. As you firm down through the four corners of each foot, feel the activation of your quadriceps, your tailbone drawing downward towards the space between your inner heels. Your lower abdomen slightly firming in, slightly lifting towards your heart. As your chest blossoms open, back of your skull lifts tall throughout your spine. On your next in-breath, raise your arms overhead and interlace your fingers, this time with your palms inside out. As you press the heels of your palms up, draw your shoulder blades down, then exhale, side bend to your right. Firm in your lower belly, then inhale, rise up through center. Exhale, side bend to your left. Firm in your lower belly. Inhale, rise up to center. Exhale, open your arms and bow forward. Inhale, press your fingertips on the ground ahead or your shins. Inhale, lengthen the spine halfway up. With hands alongside your heels, maybe on blocks. Exhale, step your left knee back to a kneeling lunge, tucking the toes. As you inhale, keep your hands down and coil your thigh. Scissoring your right hip back, straighten your front leg and bow. Inhale, rebend your right knee, coil your chest. Hands flat on the earth, exhale, step into downward facing dog. From downward dog, round forward like cat pose. Inhale to plank. Knees can be on the ground or legs straight. With a flat back, exhale, glide forward, bending your elbows close to your side ribs, slowly lower all the way down from Chaturanga. Interlace your fingers behind your lower back and inhale, coil your chest off the ground in bound locust pose, keeping your feet on the floor. Press your hands alongside your floating ribs, and as you exhale, lift to all fours or plank pose, drawing your tailbone back to downward dog. As you inhale, slowly raise your left leg back from the inseam of the leg. Exhale, bend your left knee towards your nose, contracting your belly. Softly land the foot just inside of your left hand. Kneeling lunge, drop your back knee, and inhale, coil your chest up. Look up. Half split, exhale, scissor left hip back, flex the toes off the floor, straightening your front leg as you bow. Again, inhale, bend the front knee, coil your chest up, kneeling lunge. This time, exhale, step your right foot hips distance from the left into a forward fold. From down through your feet, inhale, raise your arms, rising to stand, interlace your fingers inside out. Heels towards the sky, exhale to the left this time, side bend. Draw your navel in, inhale, rise through center. Exhale to the right, side bend. Draw the navel in, inhale, rise to center. Open your arms wide, exhale, forward folds. Inhale, press with your fingertips, rise halfway up. With hands alongside your heels, maybe on blocks, step right knee back, tucking the toes, kneeling lunge. Inhale in your lunge, coil your chest up. Exhale to half split, scissor left hip back, straightening the leg as you flex the foot and fold. Inhale, bend your front knee again, kneeling lunge, coil your chest up. Plant your hands flat, exhale, step to downward facing dog. Inhale, round forward like cat pose, arriving at plank. Exhale, glide forward with a flat back through chaturanga, come all the way down. Interlace your fingers again behind your lower back. Inhale, coil your chest up into bound locust pose. Plant your hands on the floor alongside your floating rib. Exhale, press up in a plank, lifting your hips back to downward facing dog. From the inseam of the leg, inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale, bend your knee towards your nose, rounding forward. Softly land the foot inside of your right hand. Lower your back knee, kneeling lunge. Inhale, coil, hips stay down. And then exhale, scissor right hip back, half split, flexing the right foot as you fold. Inhale again, kneeling lunge, coil your chest up. Exhale, step your left foot forward to bow at the top of your mat. Root down through your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms, rising all the way up this time. This time, let your palms meet in prayer position. Then exhale, blessing your energy centers from crown, third eye center, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and roots. Bring your feet to touch. And let's take 2 rounds of Sun Salutation A. There's a lot of bowing and there's a lot of joining the hands in prayer or gratitude. So perhaps offering up this first Sun Salutation A to something that you can authentically feel grateful for right now. Like a moving prayer of thank you. Inhale, sweep your arms up, palms touch. Exhale, hinge forward from your hips. Inhale, draw your heart through the gates of your arms. Step back into plank, or if you're ready to, float into chaturanga, gliding forward to lower. Inhale to cobra, facing dog. Ground to the tops of your feet. Then tuck your toes to downward facing dog. Let's pause here for about 3 deep breaths. Sustaining your breath. Bend your knees, look forward. Bottom of the exhale, walk or float to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale to rise, palms meeting in union. Exhale, bring that blessing to your hearts. What else might you feel grateful for? Offering this last Sun Salutation A. Inhale your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, bow towards the earth. Inhale, offer your heart forward. Float or step back to your own version of your vinyasa. Breathing in as you lift your heart. Breathing out as you bow in downward facing. We'll be there for about 3 deep breaths. So from here, again with the intent to keep your hips leveled, lift from the inseam of your leg and inhale, raise your right leg behind you. And now as you exhale, coming forward to plank, cross your right knee to tap your left elbow or outer upper arm while balancing your 2 shoulders above your wrists. Inhale back to 3-legged dog. The opposite this time, exhale, tap your knee outside of your right elbow or tricep, again, balancing shoulders over wrists. Last time, inhale back to three-legged. Through center, round, bending the knee towards your nose. Use that to very quietly land your right foot forward in a hunch. So your feet are hips width apart, parallel. Now pausing here, bend your front knee right on top of the heel, facing forward. Firm back through the inner edge of your left heel. Now you could bend your back knee just a bit as you're grounding through your feet to rise, so that as you lift up into crescent pose, you can orient that bowl shape that is your pelvis to situate more upright, more your two frontal hip bones evenly facing forward, your tailbone lengthening downward, and your frontal hip bones slightly lifting towards your bottom front ribs. Lower belly feels contained and alive. And as you're raising your arms, feel the extension all the way down the sides of your torso to your outer hips, beyond your fingertips. Shoulders relaxing, gaze steady. If it's available right now, you might even straighten your back leg. Let's take just 2 more breaths in crescent. Now keeping your legs just as they are, spine as vertical as possible. Begin to twist to your right, opening your 2 arms like a T. So you're rotating your chest, your rib cage. If you find that your torso starts to bow towards the front of your mat, you could bend your back knee and try to restack each vertebra from the bottom up. Maybe play with your balance by looking back at your right thumb. Now feel your 2 shoulders. Can you soften them down as you lift to your crown? Let's take 2 more breaths. Strong in your legs. Lift your arms overhead, come back through crescent pose. Then spin your back heel to the floor, join your hands at your heart, and slide your right foot to the left a few inches to align that heel to the arch of your left foot. Opening your arms, turn your chest to completely face your left wall. Feel your right hand, warrior 2. Here, feel full turnout of your right leg from the hip socket, wrapping the sitting bone underneath, and lifting your right up with your right middle toe. Feel the internal rotation of your left leg slightly as you straighten that back leg, top of the left thigh bone towards your right wall. Notice how your pelvic bowl is oriented here again. Can you find that slight lift of your frontal hip bones? Shoulder. Take 3 more breaths in Virabhadrasana 2. As you flip your right palm to face up, I invite you to bring your thumb and index finger to touch of your left hand and bring that mudra right in front of your heart center, right at your sternum. Keep the bend in your right knee and sweep your right arm overhead towards your rear wall, entering peaceful warrior, also known as exalted warrior, with shoulder blades moving down your back, navel drawing in. 2 last breaths. Feeling the strength of your legs. With an exhale, place your hands on the earth and let's step back to downward facing dog. 2 deep breaths in downward facing. And from the inseam of the leg, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, cross your left knee to tap your right elbow or tricep while balancing your 2 shoulders evenly above your wrists. Inhale, raise your left leg. This time, tap your knee outside your left elbow or tricep. Again, shoulders over wrists. Inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale through center, knee towards your nose, round forward. Then gently land your left foot off to the left inside of the hand in a high lunge. Feet are separated hips distance, parallel. Now energize your legs with a feeling as if you're dragging them towards each other. Create that sense of rooting down, stability. You may like to bend your right knee a little bit as you rise up. Arms overhead, crescent lunge. So here, as you're bending your front knee right on top of the ankle, keeping your knee in alignment, track the center of it with the center toe that's facing straight ahead. Press the inner edge of your right heel towards your rear wall. Feel the neutral orientation of your pelvic bowl. Rotating right outer hip forward, tacking left outer hip back, and slightly lifting your frontal hip bones. As you lengthen through the sides of your waist, soften your shoulders. 2 last breaths here. Maybe straightening your right leg. Now feel the strength in your foundation, physically here, your connection to the earth. Spiraling your rib cage to turn your chest incrementally to face your left wall. Backstroke your left arm towards the rear wall. Right arm towards the front wall. Twist. Breathe in. Feel the length of your spine. Breathe out, spiraling into the twist. Perhaps looking back towards your left thumb, shoulder blades melting down. Last breath here. Now as you look forward again, raise your arms back to crescent. Spin your right heel to the floor. Join your hands in prayer. Slide your left foot a few inches to the right and align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot. As you completely turn out your left leg from the hip, track again that your front knee is in. As your leg slightly turns inward, straight, firm the top of the thigh bone towards your left wall. Feel your neutral pelvic bowl, spine tall, shoulders relaxed, arms wide open, gazing past. Invariably. Now preparing for peaceful warrior. I invite you to bring that mudra of index finger and thumb to touch the heart center, left palm to face up. Sweeping your left arm back into a lateral extension of your spine. Bringing this mudra to the heart, how does that feel? Not only physically, but energetically. We know that different gestures, especially gestures with a hand, can communicate different things from the inside out. But just like yoga poses, they can also express from the outside in, affecting our inner state. Take another breath. Exhale your hands to the ground. Downward facing dog. Let's take a few breaths. Lion's breath. Deeply inhale, fill up, fill up. Stick out your tongue, open your eyes wide, maybe crossed, open the mouth. One more lion's breath. Inhale deeply, fill up all the way, drink it in. Tongue out. Then with the lips closed, ease back into Ujjayi Pranayama. Let's set the feet apart as wide as the edges of your mat, preparing for a twist. Then walk your feet about 6 inches forward towards your hands. Now your left hand could be on the floor or you could prop it up on a block for easier access. Cross your right hand to catch hold of the outside of your left calf or ankle. Root your right heel to the floor and tack your right sitting bone back as you look underneath your left armpit towards the sky, spiraling into another twist. Now let your skull, your brain, just hang heavily, loosening your neck. Set your right hand forward on a block of the floor. Switch your left hand to catch your outer right calf or ankle. Firm down through your left heel. Look under your right armpit towards the sky and just let your head go. Begin to walk your hands both towards your feet. Keep this wide stance of your feet, turning out your legs from the hips for a squat. Now you could grab your blocks, make a stool to sit on. You could sit all the way on the floor, step the heels wider apart, or you could hover your pelvis, see which option works best for you right now. Then with your arms, splay open your inner thighs. If it's available, perhaps join your hands together in prayer at your hearts. Feel your tailbone magnetizing towards the ground as your heart floats towards the sky. Shoulders relaxed. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. 2 more. Then as you firm down through your feet, engaging your lower belly, think of lifting your pelvic floor. So rooting down through your feet, take a deep inhale and slowly rise up to stand. Well, let's walk up to the top of your mat for one Sun Salutation B. 1 breath, each movement. Bring your feet together to touch. Inhale, sit into chair pose, knees together. Utkatasana. Exhale, shift forward to fold. Uttanasana. Press with your hands. Inhale, lengthen forward. Ardha Uttanasana. Step or float to Chaturanga. Take your own version of your vinyasa all the way to downward facing. Inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, set your foot just inside of your right hand. Spin your back down and face forward. Inhale, rise to Warrior One. Exhale, lower through Chaturanga Dandasana, or whatever your version of your vinyasa you're taking. Back downward dog. Inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, lightly set the foot inside of your left hand. Spin your back heel down, face forward, rise to Warrior. Exhale through Chaturanga. Take it all the way through your vinyasa. Remember that you can rest at any time as you tailor your physical practice to meet what you need and where you are in your physical, mental, and energetic state. And now that we're in downward facing dog, lifting again from the inseam of your leg, inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Now as you exhale, bend your right knee, and this time rotate the thigh open at the hip. Feel that external rotation. Now as we take a few breaths here, you might like to circle your right leg gently in both directions at the hip socket. You might even like to flip it over into what's called Wild Thing or Tri Back Bend for a heart opener. Those of you that practice that. As we return to three-legged dog, square your hips. Inhale, straighten your right leg. Exhale, set your right foot just inside of your right hand again, re-entering Warrior One to hold. Spin your back heel to the ground. Bend your front knee just over the ankle. Feet are about hips width apart. Hips are both facing forward. Then inhale to rise up. Warrior One. So feel a sense of rooting down to the outer edge of your left heel as you completely straight while spinning the inseam of your left thigh towards your rear wall. So that causes your left outer hip to rotate forward. Keeping that action, bend your front knee right on top of the ankle and plug your thigh bone deeper into the hip socket. You feel that neutralization of your pelvic bowl, frontal hip bone slightly lifted, the strong lower belly, tailbone lengthening down as the crown lifts. So from here, entering devotional warrior or humble warrior, backstroke your two arms and either hold a strap between your hands or interlace your fingers, or you could hold on to your opposite forearm. Draw your shoulder blades down your back. Look up as you open your chest. Option to stay here or proceed into a forward fold. Taking your time so that your hips continue to evenly face forward and you feel the counterbalancing action of your back heel rooting into the earth. Now, if you're folding, let your arms stretch away from your lower back, opening your chest as you relax your neck. Whatever variation of this asana, let's take 3 more breaths. So bowing in reverence. What do you feel reverence for? Take a look at your inner right foot. Let's place the 2 hands on the ground just inside of that leg, entering lizard lunge. Now you could spin onto the ball of your left foot as you scoot your right foot a few more inches to the right, or you could lower your back knee, a more restful version. You decide. You can also come down onto your forearms, whether they're elevated on blocks or down on the floor, just exploring what variation works best for you today, right now. Now you could keep your right sole entirely on the earth, toes facing forward, or for a little more sensation in your outer right thigh and hip, you could flex your right foot, splay your right thigh open, leaning the outside edge of the foot on the ground. You might even choose to backstroke your right arm. And by bending your left knee, scooting it back, catching hold of your left ankle or foot, drawing it in towards your glute to lengthen your left quadricep. So you have a plethora of variations. Take what's most useful for you. And let's breathe here for 5 more rounds. Releasing your back leg gently. Let's come back to a lunge, setting your right foot at the front and center of your mat, spinning your back heel to the ground, aligning heel to arch like Warrior 2. This time, you may want to grab a block and place it on the inside, the left side of your right calf, so that as you wrap your right glute underneath like Warrior 2, you could place your right hand on that block, firming your right arm and your inner right thigh against each other. Feel your right glute activate as you sweep your left arm behind your back, opening the front of your left shoulder. You may place your left palm on your sacrum. You might catch hold of your top of your left thigh. For some of you, if you want to enter a bind, you could use a strap, dangling it from your left hand. Reach for it from the inside of your right thigh with your right hand, and then walk your hands as close together as you can. Maybe the hands clasp. Either way, make sure that your right glute is rotating beneath you rather than protruding behind you towards your right wall. Your lower abdomen is working here, drawing in to help lengthen and support your lower spine. Your tailbone is reaching for your left heel. Let's take 2 last breaths, spiraling your chest towards the sky in your version of Uttita Parshvakonasana. Look at your right foot, inhale. Set your hands to frame it and step back to downward dog or child's pose for about 3 deep breaths. Lifting from the inseam of the leg, inhale, raise your left leg. Rounding forward, exhale, step the foot just inside of your left hand, entering Warrior One. Spinning your back heel down with your feet about hips width apart. Keep your 2 hips facing forward and root down through your feet to rise. Virabhadrasana 1. Feel the outside edge of your right heel rooting into the earth as you completely straighten your right leg, while spiraling your inner right thigh towards your rear wall. Bending your front knee right on top of the ankle. Draw your left outer hip back and feel a lift of your frontal hip bones, lengthening up and down your spine. Let's backstroke the arms behind you. Either grab a strap to hold between your hands, hold up forearms, or interlace your fingers. Coiling your chest up. You might choose to stay here. Otherwise, to humble or devotional warrior. Keeping your 2 hips facing forward and letting your head just drop. Last 3 breaths. Now look at the floor just inside of your left foot. Carefully plant your hands there. You can spin onto the ball of your right foot, scooting your left foot a few more inches to the left, entering lizard lunge. You might opt to lower your back knee. Go for the same variation you did, but honor the intent. Or onto your forearms with or without blocks. You might add more sensation for your left outer hip and thigh by flexing your left foot and splaying your left thigh open. You might add a stretch for your right quadricep, bending the right knee, scooting it back another inch or 2, then backing your left arm to catch hold of the foot or ankle, bringing it in towards your glute. So whatever you've chosen, let's listen to the breath for 5 rounds. And as you're ready, turning back to that initial posture, lying face down with legs both straight back, perhaps palms together overhead, or child's pose. This time we're going to open up the shoulders, stretch the triceps as we're in this position. And again, if you want to have a little cushion for under your forehead so that your nose can breathe, you can set that there. You're going to walk your elbows forward, with them shoulders width apart, and wrap your triceps downward towards the floor as you press your fingertips together, almost like prayer position, making sure your elbows don't splay apart wider than your shoulders distance. Feel the broadening of your shoulders. Trace your thumbs down the back of your skull, down the back of your neck if possible, and maybe towards between your shoulder blades. Let your shoulders soften down your back. Let's take a few breaths of Samavriti pranayama here, another calming breath technique. So empty this breath completely. Then inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Out 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Out 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. And let it go. Opening up the front of your shoulders just a bit more. Let's lower the right ear to the ground. Slide your right arm open to the right with palm face down. Press the floor away with your left hand beside your left shoulder, and gently roll over onto your right hip. Sit here briefly for a few breaths. Let your right shoulder blade move down your back. You might opt to step your left foot behind you, leaning back some more. Now on your next exhale, slowly roll back onto your stomach. Sliding your left arm open to its side, palm face down. Set your left ear on the ground or a pillow. Press the floor away with your right palm beside your right shoulder, and roll over onto your left hip. Slide your left shoulder blade away from your ear. And you might explore stepping your right foot behind you if you want a little more sensation. On your next out breath, roll on to your belly, slide back through child's pose, just a transition. Sink your pelvis towards your feet. Take one deep exhalation to your mouth in child's pose. Then slide your hands back. Inhale to slowly roll up to sit. Stretching both legs out in front of you for last posture before Shavasana. Now, coming into Paschimottanasana, but if you really need to get in an inversion like shoulder stand, take that instead. So for Paschimottanasana, you might move the flesh aside from your glutes, really grounding your sitting bones. You might even use a strap around the balls of your feet or raise your arms overhead. Flex your feet, press your big toe mounds forward, and then as you press downward to your pelvis, lift up to your spine, shoulders relax, breathe in. Exhale, hinge forward a little bit. Pause here, inhale, lengthen some more while grounding your pelvis. Exhale, maybe fold a little more. And just like that, exploring your range for just about 4 more breaths. Some of you might be clasping your big toes with your index and middle fingers. From Paschimottanasana, breathe in to slowly rise up. Now setting up for your Shavasana corpse pose, feel free to grab whatever props that might be useful to bring ease and comfort to your body, like rolling up a blanket, or placing a pillow under the backs of your knees, which can offer your lower back relief. Splaying the feet wide, maybe rotating the legs inward and outward a few times first. You could even use a block underneath your shoulder blades, one under your skull for a lift in the chest. But for those of you that requested relief for the lower back, we've already done quite a bit of opening the chest, so you may just like to lie down flat with a support under the backs of your knees, and then maybe even a weighted blanket or pillow over your pelvis or over your entire body. You might even like to rest your palms face down at your hip flexors, just that reassuring, gentle weight, helping to open space in the front of your hips, at your psoas. And as you're gradually landing in stillness, turning your gaze inward, closing your eyes, take a few last deep breaths into any area of your body that could use just a little bit more of your loving attention. Visualize that area, breathing into it, a warm, loving light of energy. And as you're ready, letting go of controlling your breath, entering a full state of devotional surrender. Isvara Pranidhana. As we finish with our meditation practice, you might opt to stay lying down or choose to gently lift your body up to sit. So find your position if you're staying for 5 minutes of meditation. Setting the timer now for your own practice, 5 minutes. Breathing in, filling up the heart center space. Opening your mouth, exhaling. Perhaps bring your palms to meet at your heart as you bow in to close this practice. Though remember that our practices together are merely moments to sharpen our pencil or sharpen our tool of awareness, our tool of devotional surrender, our tool of nonviolence, all these various yamas and niyamas that we're practicing here. But how do we infuse them into our daily lives? Let's close with one chant of Om. Take a deep breath. Thank you for sharing your practice. Om Shanti Shanti Om. Shanti means peace.